What's up, everybody? And eventually, you're probably wondering when would I be talking about Tenet, and here we are. And and by now you already done seen trailers of Tenet. You already know what the premise of it is, so that's not my direction here. I'm just gonna strictly talk about the movie theater experience and what I thought about the film. Not so if you have no clue what Tenet is, definitely check out the trailers and so on. Because like to be honest, I probably couldn't even tell you what Tenet is because it really is like a really mind bending experience in true Nolan fashion. But yeah, so if you don't know by now, like Tenet was, the next big Christopher Nolan film that he was foreshadowing for a while. I mean, before it even had a name, it was just known as the next Christopher Nolan project. And people who love Christopher Nolan, such as myself, were like, yo, what is this? Like, I need to know. Like, it's really secretive and like everybody's just like waiting and waiting and waiting to find out. And eventually, last December, they put the first 15 minutes of it attached to the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker screening. So that in itself was just like, it really set the tone for the night because Rise of Skywalker was amazing. And then, getting to see this is just like, wow. And nonetheless, even seeing the first 15 minutes again now, it still feels the same way. It was just so mind blowing how good that sequence was. Like it really, really, it was impressive nonetheless. But this film was going to be released this year, 2020, and it had got delayed about 3 or 4 times because of COVID. But nonetheless, it did release August 26th in the United States. Not sure where it was shown first at because I know like people in New York still haven't seen it. My first screening in my area was last night on the 31st. I was just way too tired to review it last night. That's why I'm doing it today. So there's still people that haven't seen it. There's people that have seen it about a week or so earlier. And even with people who are film critics and so on, like they didn't give a lot of screenings or a lot of review copies for people because this movie was truly set to be viewed in IMAX. So with that being said, I know that I said when COVID happened, I said like the movie that was going to get me back in the theaters was going to be Tenet. I could not wait for it. And that's partially true because yes, I seen it last night, but I didn't see it inside of a movie theater. I seen it in a drive-in, which was my first time ever, and I have to say, like, I was very impressed with how that was done and just the viewing experience and the experience in its entirety was just really amazing. I had doubts about the clarity of the television screen. That wasn't an issue. The sound transmitted to your radio, which was cool, and that was really crisp. Now, of course, I'm not getting the full-blown IMAX experience with bass and the surround sound and so on, but still, the cars, it was really dope. I feel like I didn't lose anything in that aspect. So I definitely enjoyed it on that note. Now, talking about the film Tenet, obviously brought to you by Christopher Nolan. I love Christopher Nolan. If you're not really acclimated with Christopher Nolan, he's done movies like Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, just to name a few of the most recent. So when going to see a Christopher Nolan project, two things. It's going to test the mind. And number two, it's going to be long. And indeed, this one was 150 minutes. It was definitely long. But nonetheless, it was a really mind-bending movie. I enjoyed this movie. It was not my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. It's not even one of my favorite movies, but nonetheless, for watching it and experiencing, the think pieces that it gives you, I enjoyed it. Absolutely. I think it was a very fair movie. Considering all things that led to this point now, I'm happy to have seen it. It's a lot to talk about, but if you've seen Christopher Nolan, it's something you want to see multiple times to kind of put things together, especially this movie, because like the concept of Tenet here, to just say the least, because I'm still trying to process a lot of it as well too, is that like a beginning and an end leads to the middle. It's like you have to really change the way of like how you think, the linear way of thinking about time. We're here today and tomorrow is next. And then you have that aspect. And then you have the people that are in tomorrow that will see our today because they're going backwards. And it leads into that point. Like how Tenet is spelled Ten and then the ENT, and everything leads to the end point. Get it? Nonetheless, you have to kind of really change your conventional way of thinking with this movie, and it's really challenging because you do see things in the movie that come full circle, things that happen in the beginning, things that's happening at the end, and how it just all meshes all together. Now, the other important things that I took away from this film was the performances. Now, John David Washington, who I have been a fan of as far as with television and other small projects, I said that, attaching himself to a Nolan project could really rocket ship his career. Then upon seeing that first 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, this could be something, but I'm humble and I'm subtle. Let's see what happens with this. And the verdict for me here is that, like, this didn't make him a big action star, because I didn't feel like in that aspect, like, he really flourished in it. But with his swag, his demeanor, the dialogue, everything on that note, he's a star nonetheless. So I want to see him in definitely more conventional roles. I wouldn't say just he's the next big action star, but I definitely want to see him in just, more roles of like, to be honest, this may be a reach, but like something like a James Bond-ish type of film where, the fashion and sex appeal speaks. And like, yes, there's action, but like the technology and the gadgets can carry that, where the hand in hand and then, the combat scenes ain't really quite have to be his thing. Because I feel like there was some scenes, and again, it's really trippy when you watch some of these things that, like, I see why, but like I wasn't overly so like, yes, I want more of that. Like the first time I see Charlize Theron, I was like, yes, I need more of that. Now Robert Pattinson here, the wild card in this, I think that Robert Pattinson continues to show why he's a star, despite the Twilight slander. Robert Pattinson is an amazing actor, and I think that, he obviously added another one to his resume with this film. And I'd be curious to know who Nolan thinks is the better Batman at this point. The other thing too with Nolan, I'm really big on music associated with Nolan projects. I mean, Dunkirk score was amazing. Interstellar was amazing. I mean, we're talking about Hans Zimmer in that one, but like, I am always curious because I feel like he does a really good job in choosing his composer. And I felt like the score for this one was okay. It's not one of those ones where I was like, I gotta have it. I mean, I really mark out for a good score. But I felt like this was okay, and it definitely made an impact on this film, but not one of my favorites. But nonetheless, I'll have to say this. Like, Tenet is a movie you definitely want to check out because there's just a lot of reasons and a lot of things that I feel like all moviegoers will find something about it that they like. I mean, the cast, even the villain, everyone did a really cohesive job coming together and really putting a bow on what was happening with this film, because a lot is happening. Like, it really is. And, for the unconventional eye, you watch this film, it may look like there's like bad editing happening here, because like there's scenes that where something happens and then it like jumps to something else. Like, for instance, there was a scene where somebody was putting on their bathing suit to jump in the water, and next thing you know, you see them getting out the water, and you're just like, wait, did I miss something? But it's like, in theory, that's bad editing, but you see why they do it in certain aspects. So like, there is relevancy in means of how, some of these, and how a lot of this is shot. The cinematography is amazing. And matter of fact, the final act, like the scene in true inverted form colliding together, is just absolutely amazing. It's really well done. I'd be so curious to know how the filming of this was done. Obviously, I know that information come out. I would absolutely be buying this DVD for all the exclusive extra stuff. But I'd be curious to see how it was done, especially some of the combat scenes when fighting with the inverted. And, at times I kind of wonder, like, do I like it better for or better than inverted? Got to reprogram the way your brain is thinking and watching this one. But Tenet is amazing as far as what it took to like really put this body of work together. It's not one of my favorite films, but like when all things into perspective, with delays, with how how long it took for this project, and then the concept and everything, it's nothing like I've seen before. There's no denying that. It really isn't. But again, it's something you want to watch multiple times because you still leave yourself wondering like, well, wait a minute, and wait, how? And then like, but yeah, I will say this. This one doesn't make you think as deep as Inception made you think, but this one will absolutely make you think. Like, it definitely will make you think. And by the way, too, even if like, say you're not just like the best critical thinker, there's a lot of good dialogue that helps you in understanding what's happening. Because yes, there will be scenes where you're just completely like, hey, it looks good, but I have no clue what's happening. So you'll be fine. You will enjoy this film. Definitely check it out. Come back in the comments and let me know. Stay safe as always. I'm not sure where you all may be viewing this at. Again, places like New York is not open, but definitely spend the money and go see it. Let's stay away from the pirated versions and stuff that may be leaking. This is a movie that you truly want to see in its truest form in IMAX quality. So do that and then come back in the comments, let me know, and then I catch you for another review very soon.